Hello and welcome to a SonicLAB. Today we're looking at the new modules from Cre8audio. This is in their nifty case, which I've already reviewed. This was a low-cost case that came with a couple of modules, cells and chips, had a pair of CV gate outputs and a MIDI interface, plus a bit of patching for audio. Quite a handy, low-cost utility. In fact, I think there is also a kit that allows you to mount two together, so that's also out, but I haven't got one of those, otherwise I'd be showing you that. But let's get on to the main program. Two new modules. We've got the they enjoy their marketing punnery. So the first one is the Capt'n Big-O, which is a oscillator, and the second one is Mr. Phil Ter, which is this guy here, which is actually ladder filter, resonant ladder filter with an envelope and a VCA built in as well. Capt'n Big-O, well, both of these modules, rather interestingly, are made in conjunction with the guys at Pittsburgh Modular. They've put some of their smarts into it, and in fact there's actually quite a lot of their pretty tasty technology. If we look at this guy, I've been in touch with Richard Nicol, who says the Big-O is kind of based a little bit on the Voltage Research Lab, the VRL that they had. So it's kind of got wave folding, it's got multiple waves, it's also got a drive circuit in there. So it does quite a lot, basically. It's 14 HP, just fits right in here. It's not very deep, only a kind of 120 mil or something like that. We'll take a look at this one first, but actually what I've got next to it is the regular Pittsburgh oscillator, just so maybe we can have a listen to the difference, see if there is, because these are quite affordable. The Capt'n Big-O is list $199, but they reckon it's going to be streeting about $149, that is, so that's not bad. The Phil Ter is listing at $149, and they think will probably be about 99 bucks. So this is affordable analog modular. Capt'n Big-O is all analog. Let's take a look. So first of all, we'll take a listen to, let's come out of sine wave. I have actually got a scope. See if I can get that out of there. Input on the mixer. And then I'm just going to also piggyback so you can see the scope, because I have a scope. In fact, I've got my own scope. I bought this. I managed to find one. I don't know if you can see it, maybe just about see it under there. It's a proper big old-fashioned scope. I found it in a junk shop for 25 quid, so happy days. So this is... I'm bypassing the filter. I'm just coming straight out into the VCA. Pretty good shape. Let's go out of the, this is the triangle. They've got pretty good girth. And then we've got sawtooth. There's some decent weight there, actually. I was expecting perhaps them to be, you know, because the cells and the chips were a bit, they sounded a bit digital and a bit sort of light, but for the price, you know, I mean, there's nothing to complain about. The Big-O obviously is a little bit more expensive, Capt'n Big-O, but let's take a listen to that in comparison to maybe the Pittsburgh, original Pittsburgh oscillator. So let's start with a sawtooth out there. So I've patched that up. So this is the Capt'n Big-O. It's quite a lot of hotter output. Actually, that's not bad. A bit more facts and figures about this. So this is a dual VCA saw oscillator. This is the same kind of technology that we saw in the Voltage Research Lab. But it's also got this other folding. So this, we're listening to the regular Pittsburgh, and this is the Big-O, which definitely has more girth to it. We can also pulse width. We've got through zero. Nice clean shape there on the proper scope. Just be interested to see what that sounds like compared to the Pittsburgh, regular Pittsburgh. So we'll take that out. Obviously a lot quieter. It seems to have more sort of rich and deeper harmonics on the pulse width. Yeah, impressive actually. I mean, compared to the, like I say, the original Pittsburgh oscillator, it sounds better, which is a surprise, or certainly more full. I think it's just sort of driven, got richer harmonics. So there is actually, if we take the fold output of here and just listen to that, it's normalised with the sine. So this is the sine wave. Very nice. This has got actually CV control as well, but let's try some other waves. We'll try the triangle into the fold input because we can patch that directly in. And that's lots of interesting harmonics there. What happens if we go sawtooth? Interesting. Let's see a square, because apparently a square is very difficult to do in a wave folder. Yeah, and it doesn't have as much effect, but there's some really interesting stuff going on there. And in fact, I've got a little patch here, which I could just take the CV out and go into the fold CV. I've got a depth, which means I can use my, let's come out of something that's a bit more obvious. What does that look like? Take that down like an octave or something. Yeah, I'm liking that. It's got lots of rich harmonics and it's a very, very interesting sound. Okay, so now let's try and see what goes on with the drive. So again, if we come out of, let's come out of the drive. If I switch to my shot here, I'm coming out of the drive output, which is a separate output. I think interesting. So let's come out of the drive. Let's go to the drive in and come from we almost get a square. What does that look like? Yeah, it's almost a square wave effectively. That has got a lot of doof to it. And again, no filtering. What's happening here is there's a VCA in here, which is, they say, is driven to 75 times what it should be, which is why we get that amazing crunch. So let's try, now we'll try a sawtooth into that. Yeah, it seems to add a lot of girth. So what happens if we could go into the folder from the sawtooth and then out of the folder into the drive? I bet we're going to get a whole lot of... Yeah, that's interesting. I'm just mapping the mod wheel to the fold CV in. So we get a lot of kind of angry harmonics there. And this, bear in mind, there's no filter going on. This is quite an interesting idea. So other things to look at, we've also got a sync input, but we've also got FM inputs, which is a pulse width modulation input, which obviously is... Everybody should have one of those. But there's two FM inputs, whereas a linear FM and an exponential FM. And we've also got a level for both. So if I now come out of my Pittsburgh oscillator and just come into FM, linear and FM, probably should just come out of a regular, let's come out of a regular sine wave. Might make it a little... So now if I... Two knob controls and also let's come out of something a bit more harmonically. Basically the linear FM is sort of more musical and still playable, whereas the exponential is much more extreme and sort of atonal. Perhaps now if I get a little bit jiggy with it, if you see here I've got Fulsome Clouds involved in the game, and now we'll listen to some of this FM stuff. Let's try coming out of the folder and going into the folder from the triangle wave. So just a combination of folding and FM gives us a massive tonal variety, actually. There's a lot of stuff to play with there, and that's just in this oscillator. It's quite impressive. Also, we can use the drive input to amp up other sounds. We don't have to just use the modules in here. We could put some other things into there. What I've done here is I've brought the circuit rhythm. I've got a sound up here which is partly just the regular oscillator. If I mute, I've got that into clouds, and then I've got a beat running on this guy. But also, which I think is interesting, if I mute that, I've also got the other side of the channel coming into the gain, so we can just hear just what... So effectively we can use the drive in this guy to just amp up an external signal. So if I just unmute that, it'll really crunch it up. So if you want, I mean, it's not just an oscillator is all I'm trying to point out, really. You know, we've got this external drive circuit that we're driving that in. We could run maybe some other stuff in it just to bring extra gain into the system. We've also got the folder. We've got the, you know, there's lots of stuff to look at in here. But that's probably quite enough of that on this oscillator module. Let's take a look at next. We'll take a look at Mr. Phil Ter. The filter is actually quite a multifunctional module. As well as the filter, we've got cutoff and resonance here. This is a transistor ladder filter. I think it's 24 dB. It doesn't actually say in the specs, but it gives you just basic filter functionality. But it's also got a VCA built in and an envelope. So just with an oscillator and this, we've kind of almost got a synth voice, you know, no modulation outside of the envelope, but it works pretty good. So let's just listen to the sawtooth going into the filter. That's our usual starting point. So let's start there. I mean, that sounds nice. So I go quarter filter. We do get that bass roll off when we bring the Q up. And driving a little bit harder does give a little bit of change of characteristic. But you can hear as soon as you bring that in. But what I've got here is I've got the trigger coming out of the CV gate, and that's triggering the envelope. And we've got a slow and a fast output from the envelope. So if I come back to my wide shot, right here, I've got a control voltage from the envelope coming out and back in, so it allows me to set the amount of depth to the filter. So slower filter, slower envelope out, just makes it, I don't know what the exact let's bring the resonance in so we can hear that. Yeah, it just seems to be maybe half the speed in the slow. But it's really handy because we can use the VCA or the envelope separate from the filter, and then we've got separate outputs of each. It's actually, in terms of utility, it's quite a powerful thing, and you know, it sort of crams quite a lot in there. I would have liked to have seen bass compensation, or certainly more bass compensation on the filter, and maybe there would be room for a switch for different filter modes, but bear in mind this is only 99 bucks street price, so it's not going to give you a ton of functionality. I've got this little riff here. I'll bring in the effects as well. And I've got on my mixer, I've got, if I take a square wave with a bit of pulse width, and then a folded triangle, plus on here, I've got where's the drive coming from? Drive is also coming from the sawtooth. So we can give it a lot of heat. Yeah, getting carried away again. So we can also play the filter, and I'll just set that up because the filter will go into self-resonance. So if we just take the input from the filter out, and just take the resonance up, and maybe not send it any of that, and then what I'll do is I'll take the control voltage of the frequency and plug that in from the keyboard. Let's see what it does in terms of tracking. Nearly a couple of octaves. Maybe a couple of octaves in the middle of the range. But nice to see that it does actually at least do that. So we've got trackable, I think it's a 4-pole ladder filter, transistor ladder filter, attack, sustain, release envelope, 2 speeds on the output, and a VCA amplifier plus filter control inputs. So those two together give you a fairly decent set of utilities. With the Capt'n Big-O, really is the star of the show for me. We get so much versatility in this oscillator. It's almost like a complex West Coast oscillator, but it's got plenty of other features in it to kind of keep the more East Coast subtractive people happy. But all of those harmonics and drive really useful. And then the Mr. Phil Ter is certainly a passable filter. The filter actually sounds pretty good, responds well to loud inputs and drive, and also has, you know, a lot of utility. So overall, I think they've done a pretty good job. Hard to argue against that kind of price. I mean, obviously Behringer are flooding the market with affordable, or at least announcing lots of affordable modules, but this represents a pretty good and solid alternative if you're looking for somewhere else to go for your more affordable modules. Plus you get that Pittsburgh modular pedigree, which you can really hear in the Capt'n Big-O oscillator. Very nice deep sounds. Anyway, that's it for this time. I hope you've enjoyed that. That is the Cre8audio Capt'n Big-O and Dr. Phil Ter, certainly affordable modules. I'll play out with a bit more noodling. See you next time.